Let me know when I'll click live. Okay, confirm and go live. Okay. Okay. I have looks like mine is live. Oh, I wanted to turn that thing off. Where is it? It's somewhere over here, this thing that I think is the alert box. Let me mute that. That's annoying to me. Let's see. Let me make sure that I'm live. Every time, like I'm used to going live on Twitch, and it's like so going live on Twitch is one thing. It's easy enough, but whenever I go live on YouTube, I'm like, what am I doing again? What's the stream key? There's a stream key I have to do. Like what? It's just like I don't know. Yeah, I used to, and then I was I was made affiliate on Twitch, and then they said, "Oh, don't do that. Don't go live." Oh, I should make an announcement on my Discord. I forgot about that. I'll do that real fast. Everyone, come and join the gaming shelf, and I live on YouTube. Did I misspell? I misspelled that. Okay. Link. Go. Ta-da. So do you stream on Twitch as well? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I know. I know because I used to stream on YouTube all the time. And I wasn't even like streaming like let's plays or um I wasn't streaming I would stream like Sony announcements or Nintendo announcements or I remember I did one where um basically like making fun of the Final Fantasy Mystic Quest strategy guide because the artwork was so ridiculous. And every time I did it, like I would lose like 100 subscribers. And then like the next day or the next time I uploaded a video, it would get like 5,000 less views or something. And I'm like, what in the world is going on here? So yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad that people are joining us. I see people joining us. People joining you on your end. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I got 18 right now. There we go. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Hello, everyone, and welcome. We are, if you don't know me, I am David Vink. I'm sure you do know me since you are, here on my channel. But hey, uh, off to you.
Yeah, hey,
Introduce yourself.
what's going on, everyone? My name's Taylor. I have the channel, The Gaming Shelf, where I talk about JRPGs. Yeah, so excited to finally do a collab with you, David. I know we've been trying to get something together for some time, so it's exciting to
It
finally
really
make that
has
happen.
been some time. Yeah. He, kind of a funny story. Um, Taylor, he reached out to me like 2 months ago. It was a while back,
Something
wasn't it, when
like
he
that,
first
yeah.
emailed me? Yeah, he reached out to me quite a bit ago, and I was like, "Hey, I would really like to collaborate with you." But unfortunately, I'm going on vacation, and then I got back from vacation, and then I got really sick, and then it just kind of finally like fell through, and then I emailed him back, and we originally were going to talk about the top 10 best like DS games or what we thought were the best DS games, and then he was like, "Nah, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about something more timely." So we decided to talk about Square Enix shooting themselves in the foot by releasing a million games within 1 month of each other. So
And they're not done yet.
no, 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 they're not. They're really not. They have two more big releases coming up. They have Front Mission coming up. What is that? Like November 30th? Front Mission First is coming up, I believe.
Yeah, the remake, yeah. And then they have
Yeah.
Crisis Core.
Crisis Core, that's right. They got the Crisis Core coming up, and then got Dragon
And
Quest Treasures
Treasures,
coming
yeah.
up. Honestly, like um I recently streamed Crisis Core the PSP version
Oh
over
wow.
on Twitch, just as like a just to like refamiliarize myself with the game because I played it back in the day. But I just wanted to be like, is this game like still like I was like, is this game as annoying as I remember it being, or is it or is it still any good? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I was going through it and I was playing it and I was like, it's actually pretty decent, but there was an annoying thing, which I'm sure you've played Crisis Core, right?
Yeah, yeah, I played it when it came
Okay.
out back in the day.
Yeah. And how did you feel about the missions?
Um, they were fine, I guess. To me, my biggest problem was the combat. It just didn't feel satisfying, and I hated the little slot machine mechanic. It felt like I was never in control of my limit break and stuff like that.
Yep.
So that was interesting. But it seems like this remake or remaster, however you want to describe it, it seems like they're fixing a lot of that. But
I hope so. I know that the DMW is still in there, but one thing that I do hope that they do get rid of is the activating combat mode every
mm,
5
so annoying.
seconds. And then to me, the missions, it was like, I feel like it should be like quality over quantity. They had like 50 missions and it was just like the same thing over and over again. Like, make it like 5 missions, but make them good missions rather than 50 crappy missions. That's just me.
Totally.
That's
No,
just
it
me.
was. I mean, I think obviously the appeal was just the fact that, like, hey, it's Zach, and we never got to play as him, and that's interesting. So that's cool.
Yeah.
But
It,
yeah,
it was always interesting.
for sure. By the way, guys in chat, I saw that you said I was quiet, so I turned myself up. So let me know if that's any better or not, and if not, I
Okay.
can adjust it further. But
Can everybody hear Taylor on my end and hear me? I have both of us at maximum volume, so if you can't hear, too bad, so sad. Oh gosh. Okay, so yeah, we're talking about the 5 most, I guess it's the most recent games that Square has released, and we're kind of ranking them and just giving our thoughts on them. We're going to be talking about Valkyrie Elysium, Tactics Ogre Reborn, the DioField Chronicle, Star Ocean: The Divine Force, and Harvestella. Um, you can hear both of us. Thank you very, very much. Good.
Good.
Audio's good on my end. Okay, so yeah, basically we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants here. This is just very casual talk or whatever, but we do want to rank them and talk about what we feel is the worst and what we feel is the best. So you know what? I actually have a question for you
Yeah.
before we get started in earnest, where we're still waiting on some people to join. Square has done quite a bit of remastering lately. I mean, we'll be talking about Tactics Ogre Reborn, of course. But did you play the remasters, or I guess remakes, really? At least it was a remake of Live Alive and Chrono Cross earlier in the year.
I played. Yeah, is that how you say it? Live Alive? I've never understood how you say that. Live Alive, Live Alive. Yeah, I played that. Enjoyed that quite a bit. I did not play Chrono Cross. I had every intention to, but I don't know what it is. That's an interesting game for me. Like I enjoy the aesthetics and the music, but like the actual playing of the game, I was never a huge fan of. And it has nothing
Oh
to
my
do
God,
with
we're
it.
soulmates.
And it has nothing to do with the fact that it's not like a true Chrono Trigger sequel or anything like that. That system, I just didn't really like the combat system, and having this just huge bounty of characters. Half of them don't really talk that much. So I don't know. It was just, and the main character doesn't talk at all. So not a huge fan, but yeah. How about you? Did
I
you enjoy
have
those?
gotten I have gotten more flack. Okay, I have never been. I've never held my opinions back. I'm a very opinionated person. I try to give my opinions in the nicest way possible, but at the same time, I do like to give my opinions, and I am not shy about my opinions. The one opinion that I have given since the very beginning of my channel has been that Chrono Cross sucks. I do not like it. And it really has nothing, again, like you were saying, it has nothing really to do with it not being a true sequel to Chrono Trigger, because it's not. I mean, there are some tie-ins, of course, but it was more in the fact that it sucked. Like it was just like, oh, it was slow. The combat system took forever. There was a time in the early PlayStation 1 where game developers could have, or they could make these really flashy graphics and these really cool spell animations and these summons that looked amazing. But then you had to see it every single time for every
Yep.
single battle. And it was just like, oh my God. And it just made everything drag on so much. So honestly, with the remat or the remake that they put out, just adding that fast forward feature made it so much better, because that was my main gripe, was that it was just so freaking slow. And adding in that fast forward feature, it's like the pain can be taken away because you can just keep on going fast, 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 fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not to mention the ridiculous characters and all that stuff. So yeah.
No,
Okay.
the fast forward stuff is interesting. Let me ask you this: what are your thoughts on just turn-based combat and the fact that so many remasters feel the need to include some sort of fast forward function because the combat, maybe they feel like the combat is boring? Because even like a lot of modern JRPGs like Soul Hackers 2 is doing an update where they're adding fast forward, like Dragon Quest 11S did a fast forward. It's like I feel like the only ones that aren't doing it are Octopath and then Persona don't do that. But that's because they have some kind of interesting um
They have like the press turn systems or the brake systems and things like that.
yeah.
Yeah. I think that that is really just kind of a sign of the times, I guess. Whereas back in the day, things were just slower in general. The world was slower in general, and you took time to really savor what you were doing. And nowadays, it's just like go, 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 so fast. And then you take that, and it's compounded with the fact that whenever you play a retro game, more than likely, I mean, let's be real here. We're playing with emulators and we're
Sure.
playing with fast forward. I mean, let's just cut the shit.
Well, you don't want to pay
Um,
$300 for Suikoden 2? I mean,
I know, no kidding. You know, like if I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna replay like Lufia 2 or something, I'm gonna put on fast forward during those battles. So like I understand why they're doing what they're doing, and to me it's a quality of life feature. I want to say it was first introduced. I'm gonna take a stab in the dark here, but I'm gonna go with Bravely Default. I remember whenever the demo for Bravely Default came
yeah,
out and they were talking about the Japanese feedback. And they were like, we're gonna do a fast forward, we're gonna turn the encounters off, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, we're gonna do the other. And people loved it. So I think that that's where it all began. And honestly, I'm a fan of it. So you can play it the way that you want to. You can play it personally whenever I'm playing the newer games that do have fast forwarding. I will normally play it at regular speed whenever I'm just going through the story. But if I need to stop and grind, I'm totally fast forwarding to that grind.
totally. No, I think you hit something there with Bravely Default. I want to say that was the one that changed everything. And what's interesting to me is I feel like that was the game that almost revived JRPGs in a way, because I remember after that game came out and it sold well, Square was like, we had no idea. And it's like, well, you just stopped making them. It's not like we
I
stopped
know.
wanting to play
Yeah.
them.
And this is actually something that I wanted to talk about. You've actually hit on a good point, and I'm going to bring up my number 5 game. Of the 5 games that we're talking about, this I think is the worst one. And I think that this is a good segue into it. And for me, that is Valkyrie Elysium.
Mm,
Yeah, this is my number 5 game.
okay.
And the big reason for this is that they took the formula that worked in Valkyrie Profile and Valkyrie Profile 2 Silmeria, and they changed it for the worst. And it's just like, why? Why did you do this? Why did you
Mm.
take a really cool turn-based game that had really cool combat mechanics, and then they turned it into some just generic action RPG. Yeah, that's just me. That's just me. Um, it just doesn't feel like it ties in with the rest of the game. Even Covenant of the Plume on the DS, even though that was tactical turn-based, at least it was still turn-based, you know? And then they took out
Yeah.
all the NPCs. There's like no shops. Everything just feels so empty. Each time that you want to restart a quest, you have to like leave the area and it has to like repopulate into a whole different quest thing. You can't just have the quest there and like do it at the same time as you're doing the regular story. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, eh.
Yeah, no, totally. I was as I was playing that game, I was like, I kept thinking to myself, I'm like, was this a different game and they just slapped the Valkyrie name on it because it might resonate more or something? Because it like as I'm playing it, I'm like, this just feels like an action RPG, and then they sort of slapped on the Valkyrie name because it doesn't.
A very generic action RPG.
Yeah,
Like it was just. Can we talk about the Einherjar puzzles? Am I saying that right?
on
Einherjar. Everybody always yells at me for my pronunciations, and I can never pronounce anything right.
I think
I'm
it's
really bad
I
at it.
think it's on Harrier, and the only reason I
On
say that
Harryar.
I think the only reason I know that is because I did a podcast, and literally at the beginning of every episode, our host would be like, "And to my side are my noble on Harrier, blah blah blah, and blah blah blah." Like that's how they introduce all the co-hosts, because that's what they do in the PS1 version, right? Like it's, every time the battle starts, they're like, "To
Yeah,
my side, my noble and Harrier," or whatever. Um,
yeah.
yeah,
But I mean, like I haven't played that since like I was in high school. You
yeah,
know what I
that
mean?
was a
Like
while
it's
ago.
been
Yeah.
it's been a hot minute, you know? And but they had these puzzles. And they're not even puzzles. It's just you just target the thing, you summon the right guy, and you just boop, there it is. It's not even a puzzle. But
Yeah.
they have like the gall to call it a puzzle. And it's just like, why do you even have it? You know? Like why even bother? It just it just seems so cheap and lazy. That's just me. That's just me.
Yeah, no, it definitely felt like, yeah, it was like, oh, we got branches in the way, bring the fire guy out. Okay, now the branches are gone, we can keep going. It's like, okay, that wasn't very
Yeah, like
interesting.
yeah, I know. It's like, oh, look, there's some, what was it, like a wind puzzle or something? Let's target that and create an icicle bridge or something. Or like, it's just like, okay, we created a bridge. Let's move on. It just seemed like such an afterthought. I just, ugh. It like, after seeing puzzles in Lufia 2 or Golden Sun or even Zelda, and then they have the nerve to call those puzzles. They're just not. They're just barriers, I guess, you know.
Yep.
Ugh. What was your worst game of the bunch?
Well, so I feel a little bit hesitant to put this on there because this is the only one on the list that I haven't beat all the way through. That's Harvestella, and I feel like I'm gonna dunk on it without full context. But when I played the demo on Switch, the it was so ridiculously blurry. Like that was my big problem. Like I didn't necessarily care that it ran at 30 frames per second or whatever, but like literally anything that wasn't like right in front of the character was just totally blurry and I couldn't see anything. I was like, "Oh, this is ugly as hell." And and then like I felt like the combat and the level design was like a little stiff. Like the combat was super stiff. And then like obviously it's trying to do this like farming life sim thing. At least that's how it was presented in the trailers. But then when you get into the game, you're like barely farming, and then you're constantly interrupted by story, which is cool. But it's like I just want to get in the cycle of like doing my daily tasks and stuff. Um, and then it drains so much time when you move from map to map, which I hear they fixed in the full version.
They did. They did.
Yeah. But I mean, is any of that alleviated in the full version? Again, I feel bad even talking negatively just from the demo, but that's what I played of it.
I loved Stella. But I mean, whenever I was playing the demo, though, I really even liked the demo. For God's sakes, I really liked the demo. Um, and whenever you were like, you just said something that was kind of key to me. I think that people came in wanting different things from Harvestella,
Yeah.
and maybe Harvestella was trying to be everything to everyone, kind of like a jack of all trades sort of thing. But whenever you were like, it's trying to do this farming sim, but you barely do any farming, and you put that as like a negative, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, thank God you don't have to do any farming. You know, so it's just different things to different people, I guess. um so yeah, I loved Harvestella, but the demo did have some issues. Let's be real here. The demo definitely had some issues. The biggest issue, I think, was what you hit upon was like everything took so much time. Like you could walk like one step and it took 10 minutes, and like before you know it, half the day is gone. You've barely even explored the town.
Yep.
But the main game really kind of doubled your time. It really made the days just about twice as long. Um, so I think that it did fix that. It also buffed the mage job to the point where it's almost a little bit overpowered. So I just was a mage 90% of the game and sent out my guys to go do the heavy lifting while I sat in the back and just nuked people. That to me was a pretty fun portion of it. But again, like, I've never been the biggest fan of Harvest Moon, Story of Seasons, cover your ears, everybody. Stardew Valley, best game ever. No, like, to me, some of those games, I understand why they have the fan base that they do, but they are definitely an acquired taste. And whenever I'm sitting there and I'm like farming and farming and farming, and I'm just like, please, can I do like a rain dance so that I don't have to water these plants? Like, come on. Like,
Have you played
please make it rain.
Animal Crossing? Are you into that at all?
No,
No.
not
Okay.
really. No.
So that whole genre is just not your thing.
It's I blame Harvest Moon. I blame Harvest Moon for that. I played that whenever I was in high school. I want to say it came out in 96. And maybe it was 95, but I want to say it was like 96.
The Super Nintendo one?
Yeah, the Super Nintendo one. And I was in high school, and I remember that it billed itself not as a farming sim, because farming sims didn't exist. It wasn't a thing yet. It billed itself as a farming RPG. And all I knew was like, oh, an RPG. I love Secret of Mana. I love Final Fantasy. I love Dragon Warrior. I love Lufia. I love Breath of Fire. Farming RPG? What could possibly go wrong? And then I played it. Just like, oh,
no combat.
God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It was just like, I remember, so in Harvest Moon, you can kind of cheat. And I remember clearing the field the very first day. Basically,
really? Wow.
What you the entire field. I chopped down every single tree stump, clawed every single boulder or whatever there was that was blocking the way, because at nighttime the time never ended. You would go and did you ever play the original Harvest Moon?
That is one of the very few that I've never played, was the Super Nintendo one.
Count yourself lucky. So so you would go to the mountain, and there was like this mountain spring, and it was like right at the beginning of the mountain, and it would restore your stamina. So I spent probably a good 5 hours, I don't remember how long it did, to clear the field. Then I made a save over every single save file, so I never had to clear the field again. And then, from that, it was just like, I would sit there and I would plant all these crops, and then I had to plant them. Then you gotta harvest them. Then you gotta water them. Then you gotta take them to town. Then you gotta one by one take each crop to the little thing to send it away on the truck. And I'm just like, is there any gameplay to this? Holy crap. It was like never ending. And then all the other Harvest Moons came out, and I'm just like, so again, whenever you say Harvestella, where's the farming? I'm like, no farming. You know, it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice.
Yeah,
Ugh.
to me the appeal of those games is sort of the life sim aspect. Like obviously the farming part, it's like part of your routine, but then it's like the relationship building of like not just the whatever the dateable characters, but then also the townsfolk, because sometimes they give you like extra recipes or they teach you things or there's funny little scenes. And I think that's I have this video on my channel where I talk about why I like Persona so much, and it was like smashing Final Fantasy and Harvest Moon together in like a way I never thought possible, because obviously a good half of Persona is the social link confidant, whatever you want to call it, segment.
All the socials that you do. Um, there's something that I call "Oh My Guide" in regards to Persona. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh my god, no.
Oh My Guide. So what that means to me, this is my little thing, I know. What that means to me is if you don't have your guide right next to you, you're going to miss something and you're going to be
Oh.
screwed. And
Mm.
then 10, 15, 20 hours down the line, you're like, fuck, oh my guide. I didn't have my guide next to me and I missed such and such. And it pisses me off to no end. And the main thing about that is like those social links, those social aspects of Persona, where you're sitting there and you're like, do I go to Tartarus tonight and level up? Or do I go to my part time job? Or do I go to my swim club? Or do I study at home? Or do I talk to my girlfriend? What do I do? And if you don't do the right thing on the right day, you don't get the right stats. And then, oh my God, it's just, ugh.
I I'll say the one part of that I would agree with you on. Most of it I don't mind because it's just like, oh, I missed something. That's just how the game is. I recently finished Persona 5 Royal for the first time, and somehow there's like an extra semester like after the game finishes, and totally missed it because of what you just said.
Really?
You have to have maxed out your confidant ranks with 3 specific characters, and I didn't know that, and the game does not lay that out clearly at all. And so I beat the game. I'm like, what the hell? How did I miss this? And I go back and I
Yeah.
read that. I'm like, I'm so pissed. So I'm like, do I start the game up on easy, new game plus, and just skip everything? Or do I look it up on YouTube? And I like literally started a new game. I played for an hour. I'm like, I can't do this. I just
I
gotta
know.
go
I'd
on
be like,
YouTube.
screw. I'd be so pissed. I would
I
be
was.
angry playing it. I would be hate playing that game the whole time.
That's exactly what I did. And then I'm like, nope,
This
forget it.
brain
I'm gonna
game.
going on YouTube.
You know?
Somebody's got to have a summary, and thank God somebody did. But
Oh, no kidding. I would be like, oh, there's no way. I would turn on that summary and jump on a cardio machine or something and be like, let's just, yeah, I don't have time for all this. Like, my gosh, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So I do have a love-hate relationship with Persona because of that issue that it has. Okay, let's move on to our number 4 games. And my number 4 game for me, which I think is going to make your little mouth drop, is the DioField Chronicle. And let me tell you why.
all right.
Okay, so I'm a huge fan of tactical RPGs. I like tactical RPGs. Most of the time, I like them in a turn based format. This is not turn based, this is more real time, which is fine. Growlancer was real time. Ogre Battle was real time. I enjoy both of those series. However, in both of those series, each battle is different, and you have a lot of different characters to control. In the DioField Chronicle, I felt like every single battle was the same thing over and over and over again, and then you only had those 4 characters to control. And a lot of the times, I would, what was the command? I think it's like L2, and you can control all 4 of the characters at the same time to kind
Oh
of move
yeah,
them as a group. You know
yeah,
what I'm talking about?
yeah.
And I would constantly just move them as a group to the closest enemy, massacre them, and then move them onto a group to the next closest enemy, massacre them, move on, rinse and repeat. And it just felt like the same thing over and over and over again. And the enjoyable part to me wasn't the battling, which was unfortunate because I think that there was a good base there, the more enjoyable part to me was the storyline and the twists and the turns, no spoilers, that it ended up taking towards the end of the game.
Well, yeah, I don't want to get too deep into my thoughts because mine will come later, a little later than yours came up. But no, I can. That was a criticism that I saw a lot of people throw at it. Was most of the missions are the same, and it's hard to argue, right? It's like because you only get 4 characters per fight.
Hmm.
I mean, you get like the little backup characters or whatever, but they're not all on the battlefield.
Yeah.
And it seems like if you've played the demo, it seems like, oh, wow, like each battle they're doing something a little bit different. I wonder how they're going to change that up until the end of the game, and they really don't. So I can't argue
Mhm.
with you on that.
Yeah.
But I definitely agree with you on the story because it almost flipped with me. It was like the gameplay started out really interesting and the story was boring, but then as the game went on, it was like the opposite for me. Um, because normally I just don't typically like the stories in like strategy RPGs because it's always like the kingdoms are fighting and it's a warring political drama and everybody's trying to vie for the crown or whatever, and like I just roll my eyes, like that just never interests me because it's always the same. And it's not different here, but the little character interactions are what were really interesting, and I'll kind of save my little rant for that a little later. But yeah, that's I agree with you. The story got really interesting, whereas at the beginning it was not very interesting to me, at least.
Yeah. It's kind of funny that you mention that sorry, that you are not interested in the warring kingdoms going after like the triangle strategy, Final Fantasy Tactics, Tactics Ogre type stories. Because the alternative to that is let's have a snowball fight during middle
Oh
school.
God, Tactics Advance, yeah.
And that is what makes me roll my eyes. So, yeah.
I mean, I'll never make a game, but like in my head, if I were to ever make a strategy RPG, I feel like the better story would be to like keep the team relatively small, like maybe 12, 15 characters or something, all that have different classes so you get some variety, but then like have them be like this roving band, right? So it's not about a big grand scale kingdom, because my problem with that is there ends up being too many characters and too many plot lines going on and I can't keep track of it. I'm a simpleton, so I'm like I don't even know what's happening anymore.
Especially when they add in like ye old English to the whole
Mm,
thing, like they've been doing lately too. And then you're just like, what is going on? Like, I don't have time for this. Like,
yes,
who are you
totally.
again?
Like they did
You
it with
know?
Final Fantasy Tactics. Like I remember from the PS1 version to War of the Lions, they changed it to like that, like old English. I'm like, whoa, I
Yes.
can like barely understand what you're saying sometimes.
I know. It's like the storyline wasn't complicated enough the first time around. Let's overcomplicate it with some English from Shakespeare's time. You know? It's just like, okay, okay, whatever, Square. I see you. I see what you're doing there.
And I
Trying to be all fancy.
just to be clear though, I love Final Fantasy Tactics. That game's like a
Oh yeah,
masterpiece. Like the gameplay
oh yeah.
is like almost unrivaled in terms of strategy RPGs. But yeah, the
If
story
there was
is
something that I could do to change up Final Fantasy Tactics, it would be to have more than like 5 characters on the field at one time. Like I know a lot of other tactical RPGs will allow you to have like Tactics Ogre has like 10 characters on the field plus your guests. So you have a lot of people to control. But Final Fantasy Tactics just gave you pretty much, for the most part, 5. And it's like you've all these different jobs. And it's like, I don't want to control just 5. I want to control, a bunch.
I think
Yeah,
that's
that's my
where
one criticism.
I think that's what was made like something like Triangle Strategy really strong, because unfortunately you couldn't really customize your characters too much, but there you did have more than 5 or 6. I think you could bring like
Hmm.
8. I don't remember, but
Something like that. Yeah,
I think that's the
it's
sweet
been a minute.
spot, because like any more than that, then it becomes unwieldy. And I will get into that as we talk about Tactics Ogre, I think, but because like in some of those fights, you have like 14 characters, and like even with the fast forward function, it became like unwieldy to me. But I agree with you. Like 8ish seems to be the sweet spot. I think that's what Fire Emblem is too. I could be wrong, but
Is that where
um,
they're at now with Fire Emblem?
I
Okay.
I
Yeah. The
think
last Fire Emblem I played was Three Houses, and I enjoyed that. But yeah, it's somewhere around there. It's more than 5, but less than 10. It's somewhere in that general vicinity.
yep.
What was your
Um,
fourth game?
Mine was Valkyrie Elysium.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I probably enjoyed it a little bit more than you, but not much more. I let my big disappointment with that is I think one mechanic that went totally underutilized was the grappling hook, because there's like this segment, there's this level near the end of the game where you're in this like swamp area, and there's this kind of, I don't know if it was a side quest or just some treasure chest that's off to the side, but like you had to like jump, use your grappling hook, jump a gap, use the grappling hook. I'm like, this is really cool and really fun, but like none of the levels did that, took advantage of that
Yeah.
mechanic like that. That was the only one. I'm like, oh, this is disappointing. Like that would have been like something neat to do, like more jumping puzzles or something. Like if
I
you're gonna make
remember
it,
that. That reminded me a lot of Ease 9. Remember that one of your
oh,
did you play Ease 9?
oh, I love Ease 9. Ease 9's
Yeah, great
amazing.
game.
Yeah.
Great game. Yeah. That
Um,
grappling hook mechanic reminded me a lot of that.
Oh yeah, that was super fun. I think that's what made Ease 9 so good, all the different gifts. But yeah, there was a lot of weird design things that they did in the game. Like, so for example, like in your home base, right, you have the little teleporter. Like once you decide what mission you're gonna do, you go to the teleporter and then you go off on your mission. But then when you're done, it spits you on like as almost as far away as possible from that teleporter. So then you have to walk all the way back. And you have to do that every single time. I'm like, are you trying to artificially inflate the game? Like, what's happening here? Like, this is really strange.
In
Um,
Asgard, where it's completely empty, so there's nobody to talk to and nothing to interact with as well. So it's like, why am I having to go through this hallway again constantly?
yeah,
Yeah.
it was bizarre for sure. And then, not that I mind short games necessarily if they're like jam packed with quality, but like when I beat the game, I think it only took me like 12 or 13 hours. I was like, whoa, this is
Oh,
really
super
short.
short.
Yeah. Especially for like a full price $60 game, you know, like to me, like as an adult, I'm sure like we're probably about the same age, but like as a busy adult, like 20-25 hours for me is kind of the sweet spot right now. It's like,
It's yeah, like the days of Dragon Warrior 7 being 200 plus hours,
forget
that
it.
is over and done. There's no way.
Yeah.
Even if I did have the time, which I don't have the attention span. You know, I'm just like, come on. I mean, there's a time and a place, and I'm sure there's fans of those games out there, and there's, but not, no, yeah, no.
Yeah, no,
I completely get
I
it.
get more and more excited. Well, I don't know if excited is the right word, but like, so for example, I also really like games like Resident Evil. So like Resident Evil 4, that game's probably going to be like 12, 13 hours, but that's going to be like jam packed. Like every corner is going to be filled with things to do. With like Valkyrie Elysium, it was like a lot of just hallways, a lot of just like button mashing enemies. So it felt
It was
uninspired.
empty.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just, yeah,
So
not a fan. So
yeah,
both of us agree. Valkyrie Elysium, not
yeah,
so hot.
no, not at all. Yeah.
No
So
kidding.
how about your number 3?
My number three is Tactics Ogre Reborn. Tactics Ogre Reborn. I have played Tactics Ogre so many times now. So it has been released, for those of you who are unaware, it's released for the SNES, the PlayStation, the PSP, and now the PS4. So, and the funny thing is, you know Star Wars, how Star Wars starts at like episode, what does it start? I don't even, I'm really bad at this. But it starts at like episode 4,
Yeah.
right? Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Starts at episode 4. And then it goes to 5, 6, and then it like resets and it goes back down to 1, 2, 3. Am I saying
Yeah.
this right?
Yeah.
I'm not
Yep.
exactly the big Star Wars fan. Um, but Tactics Ogre starts at episode 7. Does it ever move on to episode 8? Can we not get like another remake of this same game? Can we get the episode 8? Can we get the episode 6? Like seriously, come on now, Square. Like give us another entry in this saga and quit remaking this one game. But that is not my main complaint with the game. My main complaint with Tactics Ogre is unbalanced difficulty.
Mm.
Completely unbalanced difficulty. And it's artificially unbalanced. I don't know how to say this. It's they put a level limit on you for no reason, it seems. This is the only remake in the series that has this artificial level limit where you literally cannot go past a certain level until you get to a certain point. And they do this to put some challenge into the game. But the game, believe me, is challenging without this artificial, limit put on you. They've nerfed a lot of the job classes, such as Archer, which used to be ridiculous, and they've nerfed them into oblivion. They've buffed some other ones, such as Rune Fencers, Ninjas. Well, Ninjas have always been overpowered, but it just seems like they are. I don't know. Like I got to this one battle where my team didn't have access to ninjas yet. I didn't have the class mark to change into them, and I was also artificially limited at a certain level. But the opposing team had ninjas, and they were like 2 levels higher than me. Like if they're gonna limit me to level 14, but they're gonna make the opponent's level 16, at least let me be equal at 16. Like, don't force me to be 2 levels beneath. And then give them better classes than what I have. So this ninja's going around the field, literally one-shotting my guys for like 300 plus damage a pop. Not to mention, he is the double strike, so it's really 600 damage.
Sure.
So it's just like, this is like Ninja of Doom running around the field, and I'm like barely getting by, trying to run around and like stab him in the back with a spear or whatever. And I'm just like, come on. Then, even if you don't do any grinding whatsoever in the game, you're still going to hit that level cap before it allows you to get higher. Like, you always have at least one battle where you'll gain, 5,000, 10,000 experience, but it will say, cap reached on all your guys. So you really have to kind of have like 2 teams, or you have to be recruiting, fairies and dragons and other people, and then maybe putting a couple of them in your party. But whenever you do put lower level characters into your party, you're handicapping yourself even more than you already were, because you don't have the classes and you don't have the level. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Totally.
You don't
No, it
you,
makes
you,
it.
you
It's
don't have the
another.
levels
Yeah.
that the opponents have, and it just felt so artificial and so bullshitty that, like, I liked the game. I think it was very well done. And I don't mean to crap all over the game, but at the same time, I want to be critical of it. I want to say this is my problem with it. So that's all I'm trying to say here. That's all I'm trying to say here. Oh, and ye old English rears its ye ugly head as well. So
Sure. I gotta be honest. This is my number 3, and I have pretty much the exact same complaints. Yeah, I mean, there's, because this, like you said, this like artificial level cap was not in any of the other versions, right? The
no,
PSP or PS1. Yeah, so
nope.
I'm not sure where that came from. And then they try to like offset that with like those little blue cards where you can like increase your crit rate and stuff like that, which is interesting. I kind of like that idea, but
Yeah,
I don't think the balance outdoes it. Um, and To me, the missions just kept getting more and more annoying as the game went on. So, like for example, there's this one where there's this hunter guy, and he has these birds with him, and every time you kill one of his birds, he does a giant debuff to every single one of your party members. And he's like on the opposite side of the map, and there's like 4 birds in your way, and they all have a ton of HP. So it's like, how are you supposed to, because there's not really a way to like, I'm probably going to get lambasted in the comments. They're already dunking on us right now, but like, and there's not really a way
yeah,
to like make walls to like push him out of the way, or like, because like that's the other thing I don't really like in this game either. I feel like the map designs are so boring. Like a lot
oh
of
my
the
god,
time, it's just like, here's an open field, meet in the middle and clash it out. Like that, to me, that's
yeah,
so boring.
yeah.
Um, but
There's not a lot of different elevations to deal with, and I think that the reason why they did that, again, it was originally released on the SNES. So, but if they're gonna remake the game, then remake the game and make the maps better or more interesting or nicer, or at least make them a little bit closer together, so you don't have to like spend 2 turns just walking towards the other characters. But I think that the reason why they did that was because of the way that the MP system works, whereas you get, 15 whatever MP per turn. So you had to spend the first 2 turns just walking just to get, your 30 MP, so then you can start casting your spells. Um, that's
Yeah.
the only justification that I could think for that, because that was bothersome to me as well.
Yeah, I didn't like that system either. And like the really annoying thing about like you have to gain MP as the battle goes on, as opposed to like starting with it and like you spend it or whatever, is you
Yeah.
can't even buy those MP increasing red leaves in a shop. You have to like find them in battles. So it makes it like even more tricky. And to me, the reason why that's a problem is there's another boss, I want to say in chapter 3, where you're like trying to scale this tower. Like he's on the top of the tower coming to meet you. You're trying to go up, and like you do like next to no damage. And the only way I found to do any kind of damage was with your finishing moves. And obviously those like expend basically your max MP pool. So it was
Yeah.
like, okay, everybody's dead except one character, and I just happened to survive it, or like grit
Yeah,
it
a
out.
lot of the battles came down to like half my characters were dead in the field, like 3 people are standing. Who was the best finishing move? I would try to use knights to kind of put the knights out there, and then use like rampant aura to keep them there, and then they would use, what is it, flanox or flanks or whatever
Oh,
that Greek
phalanx,
word
yeah,
is.
yeah.
There you go, phalanx. There you go. And God, the teacher can't pronounce anything. Yeah, and then that we, reduce damage, so then they're kind of tanking, and then, wizards over here from the side. And I did find that status ailments in particular they did have low accuracy, but at least they could hit multiple targets. And I
Mm.
would use things, sleep, paralysis, poison, stuff like that. And that did help a bit, but it just seemed so unbalanced against you. It was just kind of like, oh my, like every single battle I would save before, and I would constantly like rewind. Somebody died over here, and every person had a revival item, and even after that, it was like I'm constantly going to the store buying all these revival. It was like, holy crap. It was just a lot. It was just a lot.
Totally. And I think one of the best strategy RPGs of the last like decade that nobody talks about because it's a small game is this game called Dark Deity. And it's essentially inspired by Fire Emblem. So if you like Fire Emblem, it plays like that. But to me, what is really, really great about it is it builds the maps to go in conjunction with your abilities. So like it, it's like the whoever the level designers and the mechanics team like actually talk to each other, because like even Triangle Strategy does that. Like one of my favorite levels in Triangle Strategy is that one. Have you played Triangle Strategy? I don't want
Yeah,
to.
I love. Yeah, yeah.
So there's that map. Well, I guess it depends on your choice, but there's a map where like you're sabotaging the houses with bombs and stuff, and
Mhm.
the town. And so
Oh, that one, you like burning the houses down? Yeah.
yeah. And what I loved in that, it's like, okay, so, you when you blow them up, it creates like a little area of fire. And so what I would do is like, okay, I'm going to blow the house up, and then I'm going to have my ice mage make an ice wall so they can't get through. And to me, that's
Mhm.
perfect marriage of like mechanic and level design. And I feel like Tactics Ogre doesn't do that at all.
No, it doesn't. And I'm glad that they're remaking retro games. I think that that's important to keep these games alive for new audiences. And I just wish that they would, number one, pick different games, because they've already remastered this one so many times, or pick better games in the case of Live Alive and Chrono Cross. Um, I just feel like, where's the Chrono Trigger remake?
I know. I can't believe they haven't done
Like
that
come
yet.
on. Where is, the Final Fantasy 3 HD 2D remake? Where's that?
Right?
Where are these other remakes? Why are you choosing these games? Oh, what was that game on the SNES that was only released in Japan? I can't think of the name right now. You had the 3 characters, they're kind of like Wild Arms with the different scenarios, and after 2 weeks, the world would end from some sort of environmental pollution or whatever it was, and you can
Oh,
create the spells by putting in the little letters and like write the spell names, and I can't think of the name of it right now, but
that
holy
sounds
crap, if you know what I'm talking about, it was such a cool game.
that
Where's
sounds
that
cool.
remake? You know what I mean? Like, where's that remake? It's gonna come to me. sometime, or somebody in the comments is going to tell me.
Yeah, somebody
What?
if anybody in my chat mentions it, I'll say it. But
Yeah,
yeah.
it was. Oh, it's gonna drive me crazy now until I figure it out. But yeah, that was like, where is that remake? You know, where's the Lufia 2 remake, and not that crap on the DS either. So, Treasure of the Rudras. Thank you,
Treasure of the
Dan, in the
what?
comments. Rudras.
Rudras.
Treasure
Treasure
of
of the
the
Rudras.
Rudras.
Okay.
Yeah, that was such a good game. Where's that remake? There's so many. Bahamut Lagoon. Where's that remake? Talk about the marriage of maps, environmental effects, strategy RPG. You could ride like the little dragons around, and you can like create ice bridges and light trees on fire, just like in Triangle Strategy. And the graphics and the music was gorgeous. So where is that remake? You know, why is it Live Alive? The hidden gem that should have stayed hidden. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Not a
I'll
fan,
stop now.
apparently.
Ooh, played it twice, hated it twice. Okay. Let's move on. My number 2. I know this was your number 5. Harvestella. I loved Harvestella. I thought that this was one of the best games I have played this year. I really did. And if you've only played the demo, you're doing yourself a disservice. I loved it. Whenever you said, "Where's the farming? I want farming," I said, "Thank God there's hardly any farming. This is wonderful." The combat system was almost completely redone in the full game.
Really?
To be more fluid, to be a little bit more better balanced. You have more party members within the first, I don't know, hour or two after the end of the demo. You'll end up going to a new town, and you'll get more party members. You'll be fighting in groups of 3, and it was very similar to Secret of Mana. You've played that before, right?
Yeah. See, I've played that. Played Trials. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so everybody plays Secret of Mana. Like, yeah, fantastic game. And you know, whenever you go to the Great Forest, and the Great Forest is themed insofar as there's the spring forest, the winter forest, the summer forest, the fall forest. The entire time I'm playing Harvestella, I'm like, I feel like I'm in the Great Forest. Only it's just so much bigger and so much nicer and so much. It was just gorgeous. It was absolutely gorgeous. And I'm not a graphics person. I'm really not. Like, I grew up on the Game Boy and the NES. Graphics don't have to be, some big dealio thing for me to enjoy it. So while I do understand that some people weren't raised on those systems, I was. So whenever people talk about, oh, the graphics don't look fantastic and 60 FPS and all this, I'm just like, I just think it's pretty. That's all I need. I just think it's pretty. And Harvestella, every environment, every place that I went to, absolutely gorgeous. The towns were gorgeous. Yeah, you did have to farm, but to me, farming was a means to an end. It was just, so here's the deal with Harvestella that I found out. You don't really move on by grinding up job levels or getting more SP or just gaining levels in general or getting better weapons and armor and accessories. That's not how you get better. That's not how you do it. The way that you get better in Harvestella, or that you're able to move on, is by cooking food. Normally I can't stand cooking and crafting in RPGs, but cooking food is how you get better. Because the more food you have, the more HP you can heal, and the further you can survive. A lot of the times, I would be at maybe like 7 p.m. and I'd be low on HP, but I'd heal myself up to full, keep on going. It's 9 p.m., heal myself again, keep on going. It's 11 p.m. Okay, I guess I'm going to teleport back to home now. But as long as you can keep yourself with high HP, then you can keep on going. And each food item doesn't just heal you, it heals your entire party. That's why I created a mage, so that the enemies kind of, speaking of unbalanced and unfair, the enemies don't really target your party members. They really only try to target you. And I showed a portion of this in my review where I'm fighting this boss, and I'm the mage, and I'm like way off in a corner. My 2 party members are tanking the guy, but the boss completely ignores my 2 party members and only attacks me, the mage, in the back constantly. So I feel like I should have them be tanks and try to take maybe some residual damage here and there, because whenever I heal and use those food items, it's going to heal everybody anyway.
Mm.
So I would farm in order to get money, in order to cook food, and then I would go off and explore all the various dungeons and all that kind of stuff. So farming is there, but you only really need to do it if you need food, because food is the end all be all of the game as far as I'm concerned. The environment's gorgeous, the job classes fun to play around with. The characters I had a blast with. There are not only do you have your party member characters, but in the demo, remember there was like these three little kids in the town.
Oh
There's these
yeah.
three little
Yeah.
bastard children, and I hate kids in JRPGs. But anyway, there's these. Yeah, there's. I remember I was playing the game and I was like, "How much you want to bet these guys want to play hide and go seek with you?" Go over and talk with them. Play hide and go seek. And I'm like, "Oh,
Can you find my cat? Yeah.
I know. Please, please. Where's my kitty? He's lost in a tree. Oh, no one will play with me. Play hide and seek with me. But anyway, so you meet these characters, and at first you're kind of like, ugh. And you might think that they're like these one-off characters that you're only going to see for this one quest, and then they're one and done and they go away. But it's not like that at all. These characters, they will have a quest line and another quest line and a quest line that builds off of that quest line, then another quest that builds off of another quest line that you did from some other character back when. So it's these characters, they're all intertwined and they're all interrelated. So it's not this one and done annoying quest. You actually do grow to not love, but like some of the characters, because I can love a JRPG child. They're all horrible. So I really liked Harvestella. Yeah, I thought that was
Nice.
a great game.
Well, it sounds like
Great
they
game.
really improved a lot from the demo. And then did you play on Switch or PC?
I played that on Switch.
Switch. Okay.
Yeah.
Did they were the visuals improved at all? As far as that kind of blur kind of effect that I was talking about, or
Like stuff like I just don't really pay attention to
mm,
stuff like that. Like stuff it just doesn't bother me.
mm.
Like stuff that bothers other people, I have always found just does not bother me at all. And sometimes I get flack from that in my reviews where they're like, "How could you give this one a good score? If you noticed, it had screen tearing at 2.5 or whatever. The frame dip went down to 29 SPF. That's unacceptable in 2022." And I'm like, give me a fucking break. Can't you people just enjoy something? Like I'm just like, I just enjoy the game for what it is. Like, unless the game is crashing on me or doing something completely unacceptable, I'm like, I can forgive it. It's not the end of the world to me. So that's just me, and I know that some other people aren't like me, but that's just how I am.
Hey, that's fair. I mean, I'm the same way too. My Discord always is like, "Oh, is this going to be a Taylor game?" Because I always have these super weird tastes that don't make any sense. Like, I can love this one mechanic in this game, but then another game tries to copy it, and I'm like, I hate this game. Like people, like I hate
I'm the
the
same way.
I hate like the Cold Steel series, like Trails of Cold Steel. I can't stand them. But everybody's like, it's just like Persona. I'm like, not really.
No, not really.
Yeah, and so the people can't understand. And but then I'll like Trails from Zero, and they're like, why do you like that but not Cold Steel? I'm like, I don't, I don't know what to tell you.
Trails from Zero and Trails from Cold Steel are two entirely different beasts. They really, really are. Um, Whereas Tales from Zero has a tight, well, as tight as a Trails game can be, a tight story, a four-character party who can really kind of grow and learn with, a small world that really consists of like Crossbell, the mining village, the hospital. Like you understand Crossbell, you understand its problems and how it's bordered by two much, much larger powers on either side, how it's created as a border state, how it's just kind of has issues, and you can relate to the people of Crossbell. Cold Steel is an entirely different beast. You have so many more characters. you have the school portion and then the field trip portion. Your characters are constantly split between the A group and the B group. You have the
Mm.
high school crap. You have Reen doing what Reen does. You have the harem stuff. You have the head patting. You have Elisa slapping Reen across the face for no fucking reason, that bitch. Like, like it's just like, I feel like Trails in the Sky, Trails of Zero, Trails of Azure, they were good. And then Trails of Cold Steel went into this weirdo anime realm of weirdoness. And I myself am glad that I played all four Cold Steels and I enjoyed I enjoyed some more than others, but I enjoyed all four Cold Steels. But I am glad that we are moving on from Cold Steel. I will just say that. We're getting Reverie next year. That should be fun. We still
Yeah,
have to deal with Reen and his head pats,
that's right.
but at least we're leaving
Yeah,
those
the Kuro
leaving
games.
Erabonia,
Right. The I don't know what the translated name is in English, but the Kurono Kaseki, those two games, those look
Mhm.
really, really
Those are in
good.
Calvard, right? I
Yeah.
believe that those are in Calvard, and Reverie is going to be following. It actually ties up the crossbow duology, and it ties up Cold Steel because 4 games wasn't enough to tie up Cold Steel. We need a fifth one, my God.
Right.
And then we introduce a new person, C.
Okay.
Yeah. No spoilers on who C is. I'm already spoiled myself. I can't believe I spoiled. I didn't even mean to. So I was making a video about games that I'm looking forward to next year, and I go in to Google and I'm like, when does this game release? And I literally just typed in the name of the game and then release date. That's all I did. And I'm scrolling down for the release date. Boom! It spoils who C is for me.
Oh
And
my
I'm like, this is
god. Don't you hate when
bullshit.
that happens? Oh my god.
I know. I'm like, this is bullshit. So, oh gosh.
So annoying.
What's your number 2 game?
My number 2 is Star Ocean: The Divine Force.
Hmm.
Yeah. I've played quite a few Star Oceans. I played 1 and 2, and then I played 5, which most
I'm
people
sorry.
consider is like the worst one. Yeah, 5 is not good at all. And so with this one, I was like cautiously optimistic. I'm like, man, Star Ocean hasn't been good in a really long time. So and I played the demo, and even after I played the demo, I'm like, this stamina system is weird. I don't like how it I just want to play it like a normal action RPG, and then you run out of AP, and I'm like, oh, so I have to just sit here. This is weird. But once the full game came out and I played the full game, I'm like, oh, this makes total sense. And like I was playing with different characters, and I kind of got more used to it. And then I really also liked the Duma system where you can fly and
Mhm.
you can zip around and battle. I thought the towns were so much fun to explore. It almost reminded me of Gravity Rush in some ways because there's like those pink purple crystals that you have to find, and you're just zipping all over the place on the rooftops and stuff trying to find them. I didn't particularly care about like this overall story, but like the different characters were fun. Loved, yeah, like I said, loved exploring towns, loved the combat. Music was surprisingly good. The only thing to me that I feel like I missed out a lot on this, and maybe I don't know how I missed this, but I was looking in the trophies, and it said there's 50 or 55 side quests, and when I beat the game, I think I did literally one, and
Wow. One side
I
quest.
couldn't find him. I was like, where the hell are these side quests? And the only reason I did one is because on the way to this one town, there was like just this kid in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, this is weird. And then he had a little exclamation point above his head. I'm like, oh, a side quest. Okay. And then never found another one
You
ever.
did a SOA, right?
Uh,
The mini game with
no,
like the little chess
I
piece.
never played that ever. I never, because I kept trying to find
That's the
people.
best part of the game.
That's what I heard. I heard it was fun, and I kept running into people like, "Oh, you want to play?" And it's like you don't have a deck. I'm like, I don't know where I missed this. I think it's in the very first town you go to.
It's in the third town.
Oh, the third
It's
town.
in the town with the boats. It's in the town with the boats.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I
Oh
don't
my
know.
gosh,
I
you
know.
need to talk to some NPCs.
I know, and I really went out of my way to explore because I was trying to find those crystals and treasure chests and whatever were around the towns, but I apparently I missed him every single time. And then by the time I beat the game, I realized that on the mini map, anybody that has a side quest is like a yellow dot or a blue dot or something. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's too late now. I'm not going to go back and do them all. I felt kind of stupid, but I'm like, well, that's unfortunate. That's my one regret, is that I didn't, because there was also a lot of, oh my gosh, wow. Somebody did a huge donation. Holy crap.
Oh,
Kamer
awesome.
God Hobbies. Here's a little something. You guys make great content. Maybe use this tip to pre-order or buy a new JRPG to support indie developers. Yeah, thank you. Wow, that was a
Awesome. How
huge.
much was it? Because that was on your stream. You got it all.
Yeah,
Good for you.
it was $100, which is like the
Hey, awesome.
wow. That was like the
Congratulations. You
thank you.
deserve it.
Yeah, thank
Very
you.
cool. Very cool.
But I got all flustered. I don't even know what I was talking about.
Asoa.
Yeah, the city and the board game. Tell me about the board game, because I missed it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Asoa. So you talk to this woman in the first or the third town, and you get it's essentially kind of like Othello. Did you ever play Othello?
Is that the game with the little
Has the black and the white chips, and then you
yeah.
put like you put like a black chip on the edge, and then you flip the white chips over in the middle of the song. There's like a black chip on the other edge.
Yeah, I don't know how to play that, but I've seen it many times. Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, it's kind of like Othello, insofar as you put down your pieces and you try to surround the opponent's pieces with your pieces, and whenever you do, they all vanish. Each piece also has attack power, and you have to get like the opponent's HP down to 0 or whatever. Each piece has different powers. Some are buffing, some will get debuffed if there's like another piece next to it and stuff like that. It's just a really fun game. But what I liked the best about it was that it wasn't a mini game in and of itself. It related to the large game as a whole, because it the pieces actually doubled as accessories. So you could equip these pieces, and a lot of them gave really good bonuses, like experience plus, extra attack power, extra damage to various like beasts or robots or whatever it was. So so as you would play and you would gain more pieces, you would get much better accessories, and then you could be more powerful. So it made sense to play as much as Soa as humanly possible. And I like whenever a game integrates the mini game into the large game as a whole. I don't like whenever a mini game is very separate from the game itself. Hey, this is from Kamir God Hobbies. Says no game, no life, $100.
Hey, same
awesome.
guy, spreading the love. Love it.
Spreading the love. Thank you. We love you. Thank you. Awesome. Hey, I'm gonna have to get some games with that as well. But yeah, so over on Twitch, I am currently playing Final Fantasy X. And there's a little mini game in Final Fantasy X. Some of you might know it. It's called Blitzball.
Never heard of it.
And yeah, I know. It's kind of shitty, isn't it? So Blitzball isn't exactly integrated into the game nicely. Yeah, they talk about it. Yes, there's the tournament. Yeah, you have to play it at one point, but it's like a one and done mini game, if you know what I mean. It's just kind of there. But Asoa, it's integrated so nicely. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like, and I'm loath to even bring it up, Final Fantasy VIII.
That was exactly what I was thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah, as much as you want to say crap about Final Fantasy VIII, and Lord knows I do because I can't stand it. At least its mini game was number 1, good, number 2, fun, and number 3, integrated into the game nicely insofar as you could play it whenever you wanted to, and by playing it, you got good bonuses, and I really liked that. I felt like Final Fantasy IX's mini game was not integrated properly. It kind of forced you to play it at one point. You couldn't move on unless you beat it, and I think it was disc 3, maybe at the very end of disc 2. I think it was the beginning of disc 3 though. Anyway, but like you didn't really get any bonuses for playing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you get bonuses for playing Asoa, and I like that. And I think that that's a good segue into my number one game, Star Ocean: The Divine Force. So yeah, I really like this. I played all the Star Ocean games, even Blue Sphere. Yeah, I'm kind of a super fan here. So the first time I was introduced to Star Ocean, I was reading Nintendo Power, and there was this article in Nintendo Power, and it was called like games only in Japan, or games that Americans will never ever ever see because they're only in Japan, or what's going on in Japan, or whatever the hell it was called. And one of the games was Star Ocean. Another one of the games was Tales of Fantasia. And it talked about Star Ocean. And I was like, oh my God, this game looks amazing. I really want to play Star Ocean. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. So when Star Ocean, the second story, came out for the PlayStation, I had to have it. I had to have it. It was great, and I loved it. Got the remakes on the PSP for both those games. Got the third one on PS2, and then it had that plot twist, which is nightmarish to say the least. Then
Is that not
Star
the craziest plot twist like in any JRPG ever?
So stupid. So stupid. So so dumb. Then the fourth game came out and it had that voice acting. People talk shit about the voice acting in Arc Res Fantasia. They ain't seen nothing till they played some Star Ocean 4, because oh my God. Star Ocean 5 came out. Dumpster fire is being nice. Like, dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Star Ocean 6, amazing. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. So, as we all know, Tri-Ace has kind of lived or died based upon the reception of Star Ocean. It is facing bankruptcy, and I think that this is the reason why they didn't have their hands in Valkyrie Elysium, and why only Square did Valkyrie Elysium, and they really just phoned that in. But I think that if Tri-Ace was trying to do Valkyrie Elysium and Star Ocean: The Divine Force, that they would have done both games kind of meh. So I'd rather they do one game meh and one game amazing than both games meh. So that's just me. Star Ocean: The Divine Force, fantastic. They took the formula that worked in Star Ocean 2. They took the dual protagonists. They took the underdeveloped planet protection treaty thing story that was prevalent in Star Ocean 1 and 2, and they injected that here as well. They have references to all the other games in the past. Like if you played the first game, there was a stone sickness on the planet Roke. That was the very first planet. And that was where you kind of started off on. And there was a stone sickness that was being spread about. And when Star Ocean: The Divine Force came out, they had this whole sickness subplot. It wasn't stone sickness, but it was a sickness subplot. And I know that some people on my Discord channel, they were like, oh, do you think that this is COVID related? And I'm like, it could be, but I really think it's more related to the Rogue stone sickness. They're going back and they're referencing previous games in the series. And that to me is a good thing, but it's also a scary thing because I have to remember Wild Arms 5. Wild Arms 5 was the last mainline Wild Arms game. And it was released as a 10-year anniversary of Wild Arms. And they had references out the wazoo of all these different Wild Arms games. Was there ever a Wild Arms 6? No. I'm hoping that Star Ocean: The Divine Force does good enough that we do get, more games in the series. But if this does serve as the unfortunate swan song, then I think that they're at least going out with a bang. Great game, great story, great characters. Some I like better than others. Albert sucks. But otherwise, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. Sleeper hit of the year for me. Great, great game. I like the combat system. I liked Duma. I like being able to soar all over the place, just like you were talking about. I like being able to do that because a lot of the times, remember playing Tales of Symphonia, and you've played Symphonia, right?
Bits of it, yeah.
Okay, bits of it. Well, there's this one person, let's not spoil anything. There's this one person who ends up getting wings. They can fly, okay? And then there's this puzzle in this god awful dungeon where they're like, oh, look, there's this nut on the tree that we have to get. And you got to play a game like freaking Mousetrap to get this damn nut on the tree. You have to create a bridge over here, create a whirlpool over here, go all the way over here, touch this to move this log over here to do all this puzzle, blah, 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 blah. When this woman could just use her wings and fly up and grab the freaking nut, And it's just like,
I hate
really?
when games do that.
I know, it just bugs me. So I like how Duma is integrated into the plot of the game as well. It's not just like it's just kind of there whenever it's convenient. There's opposing factions who are also searching for Duma. You're able to use Duma in and out of combat, just like you would in real life if you were actually, had this ability. You wouldn't just save it just for exploring. You would use it in and out of combat as well. And I thought it was great. And to Soa, you need to go back and play some Soa. Like, seriously, turn off the stream, go play a Soa. Like,
I might have to do that. I think I still have the game installed. I agree with what you're saying about Duma. Duma is almost the MacGuffin for the game, and you don't really realize it until like the end or whatever. But
yeah,
that's kind of what the whole game's about in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I think it would be foolish to not acknowledge Elena and her design. Obviously a lot of people appreciated that, and what I think is hilarious, I don't know if you got this, but there's like a those character interactions, I forget what they're called in the game,
the private action.
Yeah, there's one where Leticia and her are talking and she's like, yeah, Elena, you have a very fit body or something, and then this is kind of a spoiler, so like maybe earmuffs for 5 seconds, but obviously Elena's not human. And
that's not, I don't even think that's a spoiler, because you learn that within the first 5 minutes of the game. You learn that in Raymond's introduction. I mean,
okay,
yeah,
okay, so, but anyway,
not really a spoiler.
So she's an android, but then she talks about like, well, I was created to make people as happy as possible or whatever, so there's like this story version reasoning for it and stuff. I'm like, that's hilarious.
Sex robot? Touch my pearls.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
She's a pleasure robot. Who knew?
But I just thought that was hilarious that they like gave some sort of story reason for it outside of just like, we're gonna make this sexy character just because why not? But they like did a little side story on it. I thought that was super funny.
I forgot her name. But the other girl with the purple hair who's wearing like no clothes.
Oh god.
Yeah, what was her name?
Starts with a Z or something. What the hell?
Something like that. I don't know, some weirdo name. Yeah. And I got her in my party, but she's like a vampire. She can like absorb HP and stuff. She's really powerful. She's really good too. And all I got to say is the character designers, as much as I yell at them for creating these characters that look like lifeless, creepy dolls from The Shining,
yeah,
at least they have some good fan service in there too. Because Theo, Midas, Chef's Kiss, Muscle Daddy, they got Elena, they got the vampire girl. They got some nice characters. Except for, you know what, the two character designs that I really kind of don't like are the two heroes.
Yeah, I agree.
Raymond looks like David Lee Roth, and Leticia just looks, I don't know, she just looks stupid. She's running around with her bloomers on and this chainmail thing. Looks like she has like a nightgown on the entire game, and like she talks like she talks more robotic than Elena does. I swear to God, she really does.
I know. I get the like the idea is that she's a princess and she's trying to be prim and proper, but I totally agree. Malkia, thank you, Kevin Lewis. There we go. That's the purple hair girl's name. Yeah. No, I agree. Like the designs are good, but the actual art style, I think, has room to be improved. I feel like it's been like that for several games, so like I hate
it really started in the fourth installment, for the most part. But the thing is, they got a lot of flack for that in the fourth installment, so much so that whenever they released the international version on the PS3, they gave you a choice on whether you wanted like the traditional Xbox 360 version or if you wanted the anime version. And I think, at least I did, I think everybody chose the anime version because the lifeless doll version was not fun.
That's so
But then they
wild.
went
I didn't
back to
even know
it.
that.
It's
That's funny that they
yeah, it's
made a
kind
whole
of
different
bizarre.
version.
Yeah, it's like this because I think it was originally released in the Xbox 360 in Japan, and then they made this international version that was released on the PS3, and then that's the one that I bought because it had extra changes, and that was one of the changes. Yeah, it
Interesting.
was just odd.
That's so
So, what's
weird.
your number one game?
Okay, so yeah, my number one is the DioField Chronicle, and while I can totally acknowledge the things that you mentioned earlier about why you don't like it, the sort of rinse and repeat levels and stuff like that. Here's what I liked about it. It was like it almost reminds me of dungeon crawlers in a way, and I'll connect the dots here. But like, so I think dungeon crawlers, they like whittled down RPGs to their like purest essence. It's just like
Mhm.
fighting, leveling up, getting new gear, doing it again, right? And with DioField Chronicle, I feel like it's just a series of micro strategy uh decisions, right? So like you'll come across a battle and you're like, okay, what's the most optimal way to take care of these guys? Okay, this guy's charging up. All right, let me get my guy that backstabs to cancel the spell. Let me freeze them or whatever. And while it's hard to argue against it not getting repetitive, for me, I just loved constantly coming up with like little micro strategies and then executing them, because the battles aren't long. They're like 5-6 minutes and then you're done, especially if you put it in fast forward, which I did because the
Oh,
walking
100%.
just
The
took
entire time.
forever. But then the thing that shocked me was the story, because at the beginning the story is like, oh, we've got this resource and everybody's coming to our island to get the resource. I'm like, God, I've heard this a million times.
Mhm.
But my favorite character in the game, and I don't even think the development team meant for this, is Waltequin. She, and again, I don't want to
The
spoil
Ice Queen.
yes,
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil what happens to her, but like what you think she is totally flips by the end of the game. And like every time she was on screen, she just reminded me of the Joker. She just was like chaos for chaos's sake. I'm like, this is so much fun. Like you're injecting a really cool, fun, like spark of something interesting into a really boring story. And then yeah, and they're even giving her, I don't know if you saw this, but there apparently is a free update that's coming out in March that's gonna be more story just of her.
Oh, I
So
didn't see that. No.
I
Huh.
think they announced it like literally yesterday, but
Oh,
and I think maybe like a new difficulty and stuff like that. But yeah, so to me, she was my
hopefully
favorite.
a harder difficulty.
Yes, no, definitely a harder It was really, that game was super easy for sure. um, but yeah, no, I loved her as a character, and um, I man, I really want to talk about it, but I don't want to spoil anything. I was sad that there wasn't more of her. I'll just say that. I wish there was more of her.
I
Um,
feel I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't want to spoil it either. I feel you mentioned that the story was boring at the first, which it kind of honestly kind of was. Um, I feel like number one, I feel like her light switch, like that she was like she went from really nice and sweet and good to evil incarnate in like 2.5 seconds. I feel like they should have made that light switch turn on much earlier in the game, maybe at like the beginning of chapter 2 or something, you know?
yep.
It just, yeah, I just feel like there was something interesting, something special, something unique that they had there, and it was almost a squandered opportunity that they used it so late in the game. Um, and I know you were talking about using the skills and fighting and stuff like that, and how the battles were quick. It I feel like the battles being quick was almost an illusion because number one, you're fast forwarding. Everybody's fast forwarding. Number two, um, it pauses whenever you're in those menus, whenever you're choosing those skills, and 80% of the battle, I'm sitting there in the skill menu, and I'm like, whose skill hasn't cooled down yet? Whose skill can I use?
Mm.
Who still has NP to use these skills? So I'm constantly in a menu rather than actually playing the game. It felt like I was choosing more menu-y things than actually fighting battles. Because if you were just using auto attack, you're not doing it right. You really needed to be in those menus, using those skills, constantly. And if you weren't, you were doing yourself a major disservice. Um, Also, because of the way the game was balanced, insofar as you had these various goals that you had to meet in order to get like bonuses, if you didn't play on easy, like you were also kind of doing yourself a disservice because you were forcing yourself to maybe not get those bonuses. You know what I mean? So that was just some of my issues with DioField Chronicle as well. It was a game that I wanted to like. I wanted so bad to like, and I did at first, and then it just went on and on and on, and it was the same thing over and over and over again. And don't get me wrong, I'm okay with a game having some length. We're not talking hours and hours and hours and hundreds of hours like Persona 5, but I'm okay with, good 20 to 30-ish hours somewhere in that window, which it was, but I would like for there to be some variety of something in those hours, but it wasn't. It was, let's have a battle where you take all four characters, move them at the same time, use your skills, kill these guys, move over. Okay, we're done with the battle. We did the exact same two bonuses that are in every single battle. And then let's go back to our home base, talk to the people with the exclamation points on it, do your little Fire Emblem Three Houses base thing that you have going on, buy some new equipment that you can afford, and rinse and repeat. And it just seemed like the same thing over and over and over again. And I was like, when is something going to change? And then Walter changed, which was good, but by that point, it was almost too little too late for me. I'd already kind of made up my mind as of like, is this game over yet? Is this game over yet? I'm just like, come on.
Yeah.
So that was.
I think honestly, for me, as I think about it, I wonder if the reason I enjoyed it so much is it's like a series of micro dopamine hits. And what I mean by that is like the battle's short. Great. Everybody levels up. We go back to base. Great. I get to add a couple new skill points. Oh, I get to talk to a new person. Ooh, I did a side. There was like always something happening.
There was always something, yeah.
And it was maybe not the most engaging, like you said, it was not the most diverse, but like there was always something to do and it never lasted too long. So I'm wondering, you were saying it's almost like an illusion. I wonder if that's the case, but I mentioned earlier, I'm a simpleton, so I'm wondering if like it tricked me enough to enjoy it through to the end. But yeah,
it was just like, to me, I just kept on comparing it in my mind to Growlancer, because I've played all the Growlancers and I really like them. And I'm like, Growlancer had a world map. Where's this world map? Growlancer had dungeons that you could go into. Where's this dungeon? Growlancer had different towns that you could go into and explore, NPCs you could talk to. Growlancer had cool anime cutscenes. Growlancer had battles in forests and fields and deserts or whatever. There was variety. And I'm like, if they could do that in Growlancer back on the PlayStation, why are they not doing it here? That was my whole thing, because the gameplay is so similar. I couldn't help but compare the two, and I'm just like I'm sitting there and I'm playing, and I'm like, can I just play Growlancer? Like, really? So that was my thing with it.
Yeah, no, I got a couple people in chat that are mentioning Growlancer too, because I've never played it, but like I think I might be confusing this with something else. But wasn't there a Growlancer 1 and 2 remake recently, or is that?
That was Langrisser. 1 and 2 remake.
I always get those two confused. Okay.
Langrisser is much more of a Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
Growlancer is more real-time. Have you ever played Ogre Battle, like Ogre Battle 64?
No.
Or March of the Black Queen? Basically, they are more real-time strategy games where you don't take turns. Like Fire Emblem is you do your thing, here's your turn. Okay, you're gonna do your thing, here's your turn. But this is everybody's moving at the exact same time. There's all these things going together. What's her face over here is casting a spell. She has a countdown meter. This guy over here, he's attacking. He's doing his little thing on his countdown meter. So there's a lot of moving pieces going on with the Growlancer. And it uses a ring-based battlefield, whereas where a lot of other strategy games, they use grids or squares. Growlancer uses circles in order
Interesting.
to attack or heal or whatever, in the same way that DioField Chronicle uses circles to attack and heal. And that's why I think I made that comparison with the real time strategy and with using their circles to attack rather than squares or grids. So I think that that's where that comparison comes from. The Growlancer remakes were done by Working Designs back on the PlayStation 2. They had a compilation of Growlancer 2 and 3 together, and then they had 5, I believe, was on the PS2. Then they released 4 on the PSP. And I don't know if 1 and 6 ever got released, but I know that in Japan it started on the PlayStation. I know way too much about these retro games. I need to stop.
No, I actually
Yeah.
have that
Talk your
Growlancer
ear off about this
collection
stuff.
because it's got 2 discs in one case, right? It's like one of those double.
Yeah.
I never played it. My friend gave it to me. Like this was kind of when he was kind of getting out of JRPGs and was like getting more into like Warcraft and World of Warcraft and stuff like that. But I remember him giving it to me, and I didn't know what it was, and I never played it. But now I'm like, let's boot up the PS2 and see what these are all about.
Yeah,
That sounds
it's
fun.
actually real, and it's Working Designs, and I know a lot of people give them crap, but I really like Working
Really?
Designs.
Who
They had
gives
some
Working
cool
Designs
stuff.
crap? They always did awesome stuff.
Everybody, have you not been on a message board? They're like,
No.
Victor Island, he injects, his own sense of humor into these games, and it's not pure. Like I remember there was
Okay.
in Lunar 1 or 2, there was some like Monica Lewinsky joke or something in
Oh,
there, and
geez.
people still give him crap about that. And it's just like, come on, people, get a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Like, give me a break. Like sometimes, like a lot of the times, I'm sure if it was a direct translation of what they said in Japanese, it wouldn't be all that interesting anyway.
Or it
So.
wouldn't make sense. I think that's a lot of
Yeah,
people don't get that. Like I think people don't give localization or localization teams enough credit, because it's like anybody, you could just go on Google Translate, okay, I'm done. But like
yeah.
localizing it and making sense for a Western audience. Like one of my favorite I don't know if you ever watched Ego Raptor's Girl Chan in Paradise. Have you ever seen those old animated videos he
I
did?
don't really watch anime. No.
No, well, it's not animated. They're YouTube videos. But Ego Raptor,
Oh, okay.
he did these like little 2-minute sketches, and he would so there'd be like an episode where they're eating sushi, but the guys are saying, "Wow, these hot dogs sure are good," or whatever, like making fun of like how sometimes they go a little too far or whatever. But
Yeah.
anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but I know
Yeah.
what you mean.
No. I understand exactly what you're saying. Like, some people, I've seen people complain. Maybe I spend too much time on the internet. I don't know, but I've seen people complain that like they take honorifics out of JRPGs, and I'm like, I don't want to play a 50-hour-long game where they're talking about senpai and I don't even know what the honorifics are, like the Kun thing or the
Oh, Kun
I know
Chan,
I don't know what it is.
yeah.
Yeah, that thing that they do, and I'm just like, no, I don't want that in my games. Like, come on. There's a time and a place for that, and we're trying to localize something here, and we're trying to make it accessible to the American audience. And I know for a fact that if I was playing Dragon Warrior 3 back in 4th grade on the NES, and they were saying Kun and Chan and God knows what, I'd be like, the hell is this? I'm turning this crap off. And I probably wouldn't even be a JRPG fan today. It just wouldn't have, I would just been like, what is this? It just would have been odd to me.
Yeah, I agree that would be out of place, especially because we don't deal with that in the West. The only time I think it's appropriate is when the game specifically takes place in Japan, like in Persona or Yakuza or something like that. But yeah, like in Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest, like Cloud-chan, I'm like, that would be so weird. Like that's just not, we don't talk like that here.
Yeah.
And not
it
that
would
there's
just
anything
be,
wrong with Japanese and doing the honorifics and stuff, but that wouldn't
it just
translate
doesn't
well.
make sense
Yeah.
in regards to these games, I don't
Right.
think. And even in the case of something that does take place in Japan, something like Persona, I personally think that it would be good if it was an option that you could turn on or
That's
turn
interesting.
off, kind of the same way that they would give an option for English or Japanese voice acting. if you wanted those honorifics in there as well. And that would be an easy thing that they could probably just put in. And I think that that would make a lot of people happy. It's all about accessibility and making things, happy and also going, for their audience that they're shooting for. And I think that that would make me happy and also make the audience happy because I don't think that I'm exactly that audience. I don't know. Maybe I'm the odd man out, but that's just how I feel.
Hmm. That's interesting. I honestly had never really even thought of that because the only games that I've seen do that are Persona, and I don't even know if Yakuza does it. I just mentioned that because that game takes place in Japan. But like, yeah, anybody that's upset about that and anything else, I think, to me would feel
Sometimes,
really out of place.
yeah, sometimes I feel like people just like to complain just to complain, though.
Totally.
So,
I
yeah.
100% agree with that. It's like
Yeah.
what I don't like is how people, like, if there's ever a difference of opinion, oh, you're the worst scum of the earth. Like, we have games that are on opposite ends of our list and stuff like that, but we could still
Hmm.
be civil here. And it's like, okay, you have a different opinion than mine. That's totally fine. Like, who cares?
Yeah. It
Um,
doesn't matter. I don't care.
yeah, yeah,
Whatever.
exactly.
You're a loss that you didn't play Harvestella.
I know. Everybody I've heard that has played it is like, this game's amazing. I'm like, wow, they
Oh,
must
it's
have really fixed the demo, or it gets better after the demo. So I may end up playing that again since I've heard really only good things from people that
I think
I
you should give it a
trust.
shot. It's good. It's good. It's good. Yeah.
The
I'm
one
with
thing
you.
I will say that I really enjoy about Harvestella is the character portrait art. I love the style they went with the portrait art. It looks really good.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. It reminds me of Radiant Historia's portrait art. Just absolutely gorgeous. I really did. I really did like that. I really did. Yeah.
For sure.
This has been a fun chat. Thank you so much for joining me, and also thank you so much for inviting me to do this because I would have probably never reached out on my own. I kind of just stay in my own little box and do my own little thing, and maybe I need to reach out to other people more often. I don't know, but
No,
this was fun.
I mean, the little JRPG creator community is small, so I always want to try to work and collab with as many people as I can, and
Yeah.
you're one of the bigger ones, so I definitely
Oh,
was
I
excited
try.
to. And if I can be honest for a moment, you've definitely inspired a lot of videos too. Like I did a Final Fantasy Tactics video about all the different jobs. And because I
Mhm.
saw you did something like that. I'm like, oh, that would be fun to do. So I kind of
Yeah.
did my own version, and
Ranking all the jobs.
yeah,
Yeah.
something along those lines. Yeah.
Oh,
So
cool. Well, I'm glad that I'm able to inspire you. I don't even like. I've talked to my friends about this, and I'm like, I'm the worst YouTuber because I never look and see what anybody else does. I never watch anybody else's stuff. Half the time, people reach out to me, and I'm like, who is this person? And I'm just like, so it's kind of funny to me that like sometimes like I guess maybe remaining in your own bubble lets you think freer, I guess, and not be restrained by what other people are doing or something. I don't know. I don't know. Interesting.
there is definitely some freedom in that, because I can't tell you how many times where I get caught up in this all the time where I do a review. I'm like, oh, I'm really proud of it or whatever. And then other people get more views and then I get jealous, and it's just this vicious cycle and I hate it. So
Oh,
there's
there's a
def
reason why I don't go to other people's channels because that would piss me off too.
yeah.
So I just try to avoid it. I just try to avoid it, I guess.
No,
Yeah.
that's smart. That's probably the better way to do it, honestly.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, no, it was great
Oh, this
talking with
has
you,
been
dude.
fun.
I'm glad we could
Yeah.
finally get together and do this.
Yeah, definitely. And anytime, anytime. I've only done one other one with Derek, and that was always a fun time too. Thank you all so much in the comments for joining us. Thank you so much, Jeffrey Kaiser, for your donations, as well as Kamir God Hobbies for your donations as well. Thank you so much, and we highly, highly appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
Yeah, and definitely if you're watching on my stream, go subscribe to David. He does a lot of obviously covers JRPGs too, and does a lot of cool list videos and reviews that like go watch his Harvestella review. I've never played it, and so I don't have a review for it. So he's got
oh,
a fresh perspective. So
That's
check
good
him out.
stuff. I didn't make a DioField Chronicle review because I didn't want to lambast it, and I didn't want to deal with I didn't want to deal with the fallout in the comments that I knew would happen, and I'm like, oh, I just don't want to deal with it. Maybe I'll make something for
Oh
DioField
man, you should
Chronicle.
see
But I
my
almost feel like it's
tactic.
too late.
You should see my Tactics Ogre review. The comments are just brutal. I've just ignored it at this point. They're so bad.
Oh my god.
One of them was like, "Wow, just put your tampon on and actually play the game." I was like, "Holy crap, banned!"
Holy crap! What a bitch.
They were getting nasty. I'm like, all right, I'm not even looking
That's
anymore.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh my
It was
god,
bad.
that's ridiculous. I'm gonna have to go and read those comments. But yeah, if y'all aren't subscribed to the Gaming Shelf, head on over there. Subscribe to Taylor. He's a good guy. You've all seen that. And yeah, you guys have a happy Saturday. Have a good weekend, and I will see y'all for some. I'll make a news video probably tomorrow.
Ooh.
I'll see you guys for a news video. What's your next video?
I'm probably doing something a lot like a catch up, like games that I haven't reviewed that I need to. Like, I never made a Triangle Strategy review, so I think I'm gonna do a collection of mini reviews or something. So
Cool.
yeah, something like
That's
that.
cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. That sounds neat. I'll have to watch that. Okay, you guys have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. End stream. End stream. Perfect. Oh, that was great.